Texans get the win over the Buffalo Bills. We've seen them win ugly. Now we see them win last second. It looked similar, but how was this one different? Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. It is SNL Reaction Monday. I'll start right off the top, Cody. Why was this one different outside of the obvious than the other games and the other victories that we've seen this Texans get en route to 4-1 and one of the best records in the NFL?
You beat one of the best teams in the AFC. You beat the likely AFC East champion. You beat a team that's going to be right there in the standings for the AFC when you get down to playoff time. So that's why it's different. You struggle against the Jaguars, you squeak by them. You struggle against the Bears, you squeak by them. Like, you can live with that. You don't love it. But you get past a Buffalo Bills team. That's a really good Buffalo Bills team. And I get that they were shorthanded. The Texans had injuries of their own that they had to deal with. But to make Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in football, look the way he did yesterday, make it so difficult for him, and to have enough on offense there in the second half to set up Kaimi Fairbairn for the winner. Who the opponent is matters when you're putting the shading on a victory, and that's a really good team that the Texans beat yesterday.
Well, I also think there's a gray area where you do acknowledge that Buffalo was banged up, and you acknowledge that Josh Allen appears to be banged up and doesn't have his weapons. But the perspective I can put on when you look at Josh Allen and you look at the box score and you see that he's 9 of 30 for 130 yards or whatever it was. Davis Mills, let's just put this in perspective. Let's localize it.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect to be talking about Davis Mills 2 minutes into this thing, but let me fire away with this. This is good.
No, but I'm just putting this in perspective, how much you kept Josh Allen in check. Davis Mills in his career as a starter, one time has had fewer than 130 yards passing. One time he's done that, and that was in Buffalo against the Bills in one of the most ass-ugly games that we've ever watched. He did that one time.
Wow.
In 2 years as a starter. One time, Davis Mills had 9 completions or less. And Davis Mills didn't quite have the weapons or anything like that. That other time was against the Kansas City Chiefs. So it was against Kansas City at NRG. McKinnon ended up scoring the game-winning touchdown. We all remember that game. I think a lot of Texans fans were probably happy the Texans took the L in that, because that was when we were kind of hoping for draft position. But you put that in perspective, one of the best quarterbacks in the league does something in one game that Davis Mills has done one time each. That just kind of says, regardless of the why, that just kind of says how good of a job the Texans did on Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, he had 82 yards on 8 completions, and he had 49 yards on 1 completion. Like 82 yards on 8 completions, and he had 9 total. I mean, they beat him up, man. They beat him up physically. They made it difficult for him to operate. I mean, how many times did you watch Josh Allen yesterday go to rip it on that first look, and then he had to pull it down and keep trying to read the field because either a defensive lineman got a hand up or his first read wasn't there? Man, that was a really, really impressive performance to keep him off the scoreboard. And look, Superman could have put the cape on at any moment there in the second half, but the Texans took the cape away, and there was no Superman there in the second half. Like, he moved the ball, and they got things going a little bit there in the second half, but they had him scrambling. They had him trying to figure things out, and on the fly, the Bills could not get that thing consistently going on offense.
The other thing about this, Dub, is I think it almost gives you kind of perspective on just what you think about this whole team. And in the past, it's been, and I think they've even basically said as much. By the way, they seemed a little bit more open to admitting that this wasn't just one game yesterday, whether it was the players or the coach. They seemed a little bit more open after the fact to admitting what we kind of had said, like in anticipation of this game.
Agreed.
But you looked at it as, okay, they're able to play ugly and they're able to outlast crappy teams. Maybe this team's just resilient. I think that this one game kind of makes you look at the season as a whole in a different way, because now I look at it and I say, okay, this might just be one of those teams that finds ways to win. Like, we're going to talk to probably some Patriots people this week leading up to the game against New England. and they know a lot about winning football. And I'm sure there was a time in their 20 years of excellence or whatever where they said, okay, man, we're playing like crap. We're playing like crap. We're playing like crap. And then you look at February, December, and you're winning games in a similar manner. And there are times like 2019, 2018 when the Texans are doing that. But maybe this just isn't that type of team. Like maybe this is a team that if Joe Mixon leaves for a half against the Bears, they find a way to gut it out. If Nico Collins, while you're gelling against Buffalo Bills, if he doesn't play a second half, you're able to gut it out. I think certain wins can kind of give you like a different perspective, or they can add maybe like a layer, an extra layer of body of work that makes you kind of evaluate this squad. And I think it's possible that this is a squad that might do that. And the other thing about it is, like all these things we're talking about, they're improving, them needing to improve on. There are flaws. Like there are flaws and there are question marks, but every team has them. And the other thing about it is, it's almost like you're getting pieces back that at least are going to improve what you're most concerned about. Specifically on the D line, you need to get more sacks. Well, Danico Autry had double-digit sacks. He should be back after this week. I don't anticipate there being a delay on him. You're going to get him back. You're not running the ball. Okay, well, Joe Mixon's resting up. Chances are you're probably going to get Joe Mixon back pretty soon. You haven't been able to get other receivers involved. Nico Collins might be out. Maybe that'll get Tank Dell and the rest of the guys loose. I just think that there's also that element. I look at this team completely different today than I did a week ago. And that's just because there was extra stuff to get done and extra stuff to observe. And I look at them completely different. I think this is, I think as we sit right now, this is a team that finds ways to win games.
Resiliency has been the hallmark of DeMeco Ryans' time as the head coach of this team. Like you look at some of the things that they've had to bounce back from within games. They're doing that a lot this year, but just in his time, 20 plus games or so as the head coach, resiliency is what they have come to know. That's what they've come to know for under DeMeco Ryans. And then you look around the rest of the NFL, like you play close games. Go through just yesterday's results. Almost every game was a one-score game. The Kansas City Chiefs have only played one-score games this year. I'm looking back at, and again, the Chiefs are sort of the standard, so I'm looking back at the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023. One-score games against inferior opponents to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you play close games in the NFL, and that's a good Buffalo Bills team. You end up playing a close game. Now, would you have loved to have seen them get the Bills down, bury them yesterday? Yeah, sure. You would have loved to have seen that. But when Nico Collins goes out, you're piecing it together on offense. You have a couple of issues there in the middle part of the second half because you start with a field goal, end with a field goal. Like that's going to happen in the NFL. You play close games. Good teams and potentially great teams win this game more often than not, and the Texans got the win.
Well, the other thing is, it just seems like there's kind of like a pickup element to the team too. And I asked Juice Scruggs about that after the game, and I asked Eric Murray about it, where the offense is kind of grooving in the first half, and then they fall off. The defense kind of picks them up. It seems like the defense has picked up the offense, and the offense has picked up the defense, and then they've both had to pick up the special teams, which we'll get to, I'm sure, in this episode. But yeah, it just seems like there's like an element of being able to pick up things when other things aren't performing at the right level. So we'll see what it looks like. I do anticipate probably a Nico Collins rest week, or not even a rest week. I just don't anticipate Nico Collins playing this week for a number of reasons. But we will see. I'm not going to predict it. But I am going to predict it. But it's not based on like any knowledge or anything. I just think he needs some rest.
Hey, Aaron Wilson said there's optimism that it could be a short-term injury. But if Aaron told me I was healthy, I'd get my affairs in order.
Yeah. Oh, was that the report today?
Yeah, it was optimism that Nico Collins and tackle Titus Howard's hamstring injuries are short-term and could be back as soon as Patriots week.
Could be. He said Titus was playing at 10 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, Nico Collins is not likely to play this week. I'm along the lines of with you, Landry, as if he's not anywhere close to 100%. He needs to sit. He needs to sit because you can't have a hamstring injury against the New England Patriots turn into a 4-week hamstring injury where he misses Packers, Colts, Jets on the short week and the Lions game. So you don't want a small Nico injury turn into a big Nico injury. And it's a good test, too, for the Texans to kind of figure some things out with him because you never know when you might be without somebody for a couple of weeks and have to try to figure some things out. But this offense, it was humming in the first half, and then it just kind of, in the second half, just kind of, the offensive line stopped blocking well. The Bills made some adjustments. The Texans didn't readjust to that. Some guys made some mistakes on offense. People are killing Bobby, but Bobby can't go out there and catch the ball on first down for Dare Ogunbowale. So I do worry a little bit about this offense, but you can sort of explain it away a couple of different ways when, hey, the Bills come in at halftime, they make adjustments. I know they're missing Von Miller. I know they're missing Al Oliver. Sean McDermott's made a living in this league being a really good defensive coach. He's made a living in this league adjusting and making things difficult for players like CJ Stroud. Like it's not like McDermott's, some lame duck who's never had any sort of success. Like he's a really good defensive coach. He got some things going there. They figured some stuff out. The Texans were down one of the most essential pieces on their team. And we went through the power rankings of importance the other day. What did we put Nico Collins? 2 or 3. So they're missing 2 of their 4 most important players in the second half with Nico and no Joe Mixon. Okay, yeah, the offense is going to sputter a little bit. Did enough, though.
Yeah, they did enough. Let's get right into it because this seems to be where a lot of the venom is coming from the fan base. We appreciate everyone for coming through. It is SNL Reaction Monday. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots. We both got our own channels. Everything going down on there. 10:30 p.m. You can catch me on the nightly stream. Practice reports throughout the day, so we got you covered. Evaluating Bobby Slowik. That first drive from Bobby Slowik, I think, was one of the most pathetic things I've watched in a long time. Dare Ogunbowale 3 straight times, including a draw on 3rd and 8. I don't know what the hell that was. They did score on their next 2 drives, and it seemed like they were at least appeared to be getting a run established with Akers on the one right after this. But Bobby Slowik is generating a lot of venom from the fan base. Where are we at on Bobby Slowik, the way in which he called the game yesterday and the way in which he's been calling games as a whole this season?
It hasn't been good enough. It wasn't good enough yesterday for most of the game. I mean, the first 5 touches for the Texans are Dare Ogunbowale, and Cade Stover. And this is a team that's got Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Stefon Diggs and Dalton Schultz, and those are the first 5 touches for the game. I understand you script it and you don't want to show this and you do that and you can't just. But my God, that's the first few touches. But hey, nobody was bitching about Bobby when Nico hauls in a 63-yard touchdown. Nobody was. Look, I can explain away some of the issues he had yesterday, and I can also ask why they're throwing the ball sideways so much, why they're running a play to Tank Dell that requires Laramie Tunsil to fly off the offensive line and try to go block a nimble defensive back to basically start the play. Like, there's some sideways stuff I don't like. There's some inopportune running stuff that I don't like where they basically – there's a play yesterday where there's no Stefon Diggs on the field. There's no Tank Dell on the field. So it's Xavier Hutchinson, it's John Mechie, and Robert Woods. I don't know that they have thrown the football in that setup this season. So if I can see that.
Like 68% run when those 2 are in. Texans Cap sent me some random ass stat at night that it's like 68% run.
If I know that, I know Sean McDermott knows that. I know the Bills defense knows that. Like there's not as much of the useful creativity that we saw sometimes last year. Sometimes it looks like it's just creative to be creative. Some of the screen calls have come at weird times where it feels like the defense knew it was happening. Like you can explain away some of it in the second half with the offensive line kind of got beat up by the Bills defensive line, but it's not been good enough from Bobby Slowik. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's been excellent through the 5 games. He hasn't.
Here's the stat that Cap sent me Tuesday at 2:21 p.m. And this is the benefits of being friends with Troy. So 61% of the time, and this was before Sunday, 61% of the time and I'm sure it's gone down because he was out there without Nico, so I'm sure that there was a little bit more, but 61% of the time when Hutch is on the field, they're running the ball, and 62% of the time when Mechie is on the field, they're running the ball. Not sure about when both are on the field, but it's 6 out of 10 with both. When either one of them is on the field, they're running the rock.
Yeah, so I mean, they might as well have a giant flashing sign that says "probably going to run." Like, I mean, look, some of it's been predictable, and some of it may be it's tough to be unpredictable when you don't have running backs that you can trust. Like, let's not pretend that the Dare Ogunbowale start changed a whole bunch of things on the offense. He ain't explosive. He ain't Joe Mixon. He ain't much better than Cam Akers. Like, he can catch the ball out of the backfield better than most of the guys, but he had 2 yards per carry. So they don't have running back talent. So what's Slowik supposed to do? Just turn into Mike Leach and never run the ball? Like, that doesn't work at the NFL level. That might work in 2008 in Lubbock, but that doesn't work in 2024 at the NFL level. Like, you have to eventually run the football or try.
Yeah. And my thing with Bobby Slowik is I get the frustration, I get the anger. I just don't think it's as bad as like the most passionate Bobby Slowik, whatever you want to call them, criticizers are. I don't think it's as bad. I think there's a personnel thing where they ignored the running back position. I think that's a problem. I think there is a desire at times to get cute and throw it sideways, but I think that there's times where the offensive line doesn't do their job, but I don't think it's been good, but I don't think it's like been so terrible that, you know, there's a problem and he's got to go. Let me put it this way. Whenever the Texans lose a game, no matter how they lose the game, it feels like, I don't want to generalize everyone, it feels like Bobby Slowik is going to get blamed no matter what. Whether they have 550 yards of offense or 450 yards of offense, it feels like Bobby Slowik is going to get blamed no matter what. I don't like the running the ball. But I listen to the head coach every day. I sit right in front of the head coach anytime he talks, and I hear DeMeco Ryans say we have to run the ball. And he doesn't say we have to run the ball when we have Joe Mixon. I hear him say we have to run the ball. That's what the head coach has said multiple times. It's a quote. Okay? I've heard it many times. Okay? Now, does that mean that Bobby Slowik has to try to run the ball? I don't know. I just know that the head coach, who is the straw that stirs the drink, constantly says we have to run the ball. I also know that the general manager, and this is just me, Stoots, you've known me ever since we've been covering this team. You've known me. I have been a draft a running back, sign a running back, bring in a running back. The running back can make the offensive line better. Let's bring in some more running backs. They ignored the backup running back position. They neglected it. Okay. They neglected it. They didn't even look at it. Dameon Pierce was unplayable last year. What did they do? They brought back Dameon Pierce. And what did they tell us? They told us Dameon Pierce, man, everything's great with Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is going to be ready to go. He's going to be good to go. Okay. He wasn't. And then he got hurt like he did his first year. Cam Akers wasn't even on the training camp roster when camp started. He had 2 torn Achilles. So that wasn't like some sort of proactive plan. They didn't do anything there. Dare Ogunbowale has been here for years. So they didn't do that. So there's not like a commitment to the backup running back position. You know what the Buffalo Bills did when they had Devin Singletary? They drafted James Cook in the 2nd round. I think they're happy that they did that. That they did that. So yes, I understand you don't want to run it on this down. You don't want to run it on that down. I understand that Bobby Slowik, it's not like his stock has gone up, but I also think there's some middle ground when it comes to the Bobby Slowik situation that I don't think is being addressed. And I think right now he is the easiest target to criticize. Whenever Bobby Slowik needs to be criticized, I'll criticize him, and I'll be the one to ask him like the tough questions. Like I'll be the one to ask him about, you know, the run game and close and all that. I have no problem with it. I just don't look at Bobby Slowik and say, man, this dude sucks. Like a lot of people are saying. Maybe we'll get there. Just don't see it right now.
Look, it's not been excellent. Okay. And you're probably the best at establishing what is the standard for this person and how do we hold that person or that offensive line or this player or that player to this standard. How do we do that? How many teams in the league would do bad things to good people to be 6th in total yards, 1st in passing? How many teams in the league would do that? Because that's where the Texans are right now. They have the best passing offense in football by yardage, and they're 6th in total yards. Now they're 23rd in rushing. They've had their starting running back, the guy that they wanted, for 1.5 games, and their backup running back has been out for 4 games. So how many teams
backup running back?
That's who their backup
running back.
Landry, he's going to be the number 2 back when he gets back. That's what they're going to do.
Mark that. I got you.
That's what I'm not telling you that. The Texans tell you that.
No, I get it. Okay, we'll see.
You're telling me you don't want to at least see what Pierce has when you've seen Daria Gumbawale and Cam Akers out there? But that's besides the point. What I'm getting at here is we have these high expectations for them to put the ball in the air. They have the best passing offense in football. It doesn't always look good, no, but from a yardage standpoint, it's not like this is a bunch of garbage yards. They've played 5 close games. I mean, the Vikings won, sure, they had some garbage yards there maybe at the end, but they've played 4 close games and they got blown out by the Vikings. Like, they're passing when the game's close. Like, how many teams would love to have that? So, yes.
The Vikings game was penalties.
You can get into the minutia of, hey, this moment, that moment. There's still some good to what they've been able to accomplish on offense with the challenges that they've had on offense, which is no stud running back for most of the season. Offensive line inconsistency for most of the season.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
All right, Swarm in the super chat. Maxwell77. Appreciate you, my friend. Bobby was like, I know I have 3 Lamborghinis in my garage ready to go, but let me take an 02 Honda Accord to the club. Hey,
if she goes home with you in the 02 Honda Accord, she likes you. She doesn't like the car.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, yeah, the Bobby Slowik thing is interesting. Kazek says there's middle ground to the problem that people don't want to accept. Bobby ain't the problem for the backfield. We need to run, and CJ doesn't need to throw it 40 times a game. Yeah, and I think the frustration with people that are pissed off at Slowik is they feel like you're trying to run when you can't. And I think I think that's really the frustration. CJ definitely bails them out on 3rd and long. There's no doubt that happens. But I mean, damn, is that what we're doing now? Like, are we going back and looking at Andy Reid? And I'm not comparing Bobby Slowik and Andy Reid, but how many times does Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes bail out Joe Brady or Andy Reid? Like, is that like, is the Slowik hate so strong that when a great quarterback bails you out and does extraordinary things, we're like holding it against him? Like, this is where I'm talking about that the hate's getting a little bit too intense and irrational. And we're early in the season. Like, there's going to be challenges for Bobby Slowik. But my thing is, like, is that where we're at now? Where, he bails him out? Okay, how many times do great quarterbacks bail out their coordinators?
And that's a fantastic thing to have, is to have a quarterback that can bail them out. What typically that occurs on good teams, really good teams. It occurs on good offenses that they can bail out that quarter. I mean, look, nobody was bitching when it was 14-3. Like, nobody was bitching about him. And then they finished the half 17-3. I mean, at halftime, were we thinking, yeah, Slowik sucks? I mean, that's not what we were thinking.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I don't understand. Where were y'all? And this isn't like but where were y'all watching, like, Bill O'Brien? Like, where have y'all been since Kubiak left? Like, we know what ass play calling looks like. This is not that. At least not yet from what I'm seeing. This is not it. This is not it. I don't know. And I'm more than willing. You know me. I'm more than willing to bitch, complain, moan, criticize, all that. I'm not there with the Slowik thing. And I don't get, I haven't gotten, there was one stat that did jump out at me, and I thought this was the best. And I welcome any like descriptive criticism of Bobby Slowik. I'm not saying you're an idiot if you're criticizing him. And you're looking at the gray area that's important to look at when you're trying to get to a goal. But the stat that I saw that was the most alarming, I thought it put it in the best perspective, is that Dare Gumbawale had as many touches as Akers, Diggs, and Dell combined. I think it was 21 touches. So I think he had 15 carries and 6 catches, and that was as much as Akers, Diggs, and Tank combined, which seems kind of crazy when you look at it that way. So I thought that was a good way to put it. I think they like Dare, and there's not a lot of other running backs on this team that are going to make the offensive line look good.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one running back that seems that's even available to them that can make the O-line look good. And we thought he was going to practice and play, and he ultimately didn't practice and didn't play. And hopefully he's back from New England. That's Joe Mixon. Look, Mixon is not going to solve everything. Like I don't want to act like he's some genie that's going to magically make the rushing attack great, but it's going to be better with him. And because that rushing attack gets a little bit better, it's going to make everything, including Bobby's job, a lot easier to execute and operate.
4-1 with a minus 12-point differential. I saw Johnny brought this up. I saw this brought up yesterday. That is pretty crazy. Now, when you get thumped in Minnesota the way you did, that kind of moves it. But yeah, that is wild when you're minus 12 point differential and you're 4-1.
I mean, point differential early in the season doesn't matter too much to me, just because one game like the Minnesota game can vastly skew it. I think that's like a mid-season thing that I would look at.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting stat though. We'll keep an eye
again.
on that.
Will they have a day where they don't play a close game and they win? Yes. Is that day hopefully, in 6 days when they play New England? Hopefully. But like, teams play close games. Every Kansas City game's been a one-score game this year. Like almost every game yesterday was a close game. Like close games happen in the NFL. Like that, like the way the league is set up, you're gonna more than likely play close games. And you've got to win the close games. And right now, in close games, they are undefeated. Minnesota wasn't close. They got blown out.
The most encouraging thing yesterday for me was the defense. I do think, though, like the gray area, if we're talking about Slowik, I do think this defense is more vulnerable than the statistics show. And we saw yesterday, once again, Josh Allen missed a would-be touchdown on a long pass. We've seen that 3 times now. I think this defense is going to be better at rushing the quarterback, but I do think there's serious vulnerability with the safeties, who actually held up very nicely yesterday outside of the corners. And they hit hard. Like all these guys were hitting hard. There was the one drive where it ended with Kincaid, a near catch on the sidelines, where I think a lot of people thought McDermott might challenge it. But on that drive alone, you had Jimmy Ward recognizing a screen, and Jimmy Ward's hurt again, recognizing kind of a wide receiver screen, and he sprints and gets the TFL. Then you had a nice Derek Stingley hit. Then you had a Kamari Lassiter hit. Then you had a Azeez Al-Shaair hit. Then you had a Fatukasi hit that led to like -7. The whole defense as a whole was hitting, and they've done a good job of masking potential weaknesses. So I think the defense is good. I do think there is a little bit more, and I've been saying this every week, and it really hasn't been exposed, but I think they are vulnerable intermediately. I think Shakir would have made a big difference for Buffalo yesterday if we're being honest about it. But the defense has held up nicely. I don't want to say it's being held up by duct tape, but there are some signs. There's potential leakage in the defense. I'll say that. The duct tape isn't out, but there's potential leakage in the defense. But they've done a nice job holding out. 9 completions, Davis Mills has only done that once. Josh Allen did that yesterday. 131 yards, Davis Mills has only done that once. I'm not saying that to shoot strays at Davis Mills. I'm just saying we know Davis Mills is not a franchise quarterback. We know how frustrating it was. We know his surroundings. We're not all that. Josh Allen was basically Davis Mills yesterday.
You never go full Davis Mills. You never go full Davis Mills. This
That's what
was
Josh Allen was.
This was the best defensive performance they've had this season, and I'm including them absolutely just totally shutting down Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the best running backs in football. You've mentioned the Josh Allen aspect of this. It was a difficult day for Josh Allen. He could not get comfortable. They were very physical basically all day, setting the tone for this team. You mentioned, I called it the boom drive, where you just have multiple guys where I just wrote boom after their hit. The thing that was really encouraging to me about this defense was one of the most talented players on the field is James Cook. And you and I think very highly of Cook. We wanted him to be on the Texans in 2022. He went 19 picks after John Mechie got drafted. Cook finished the day.
That was a mean side note by you, buddy. That was a mean side note.
Cook finished the day with 82 rushing yards and 17 receiving yards. Okay. So that's 99 yards on the day. He had 50 of his 99 yards on one drive.
They stopped running the rock, man. They stopped running the rock. I wonder what they're saying about Joe Brady in Buffalo, though.
That was a poor Joe Brady performance. But even when they tried to go back to Cook after that one drive, it was Cook for no gain, Cook for one. Like, they were ready to meet the challenge of James Cook. Did they run the ball enough, Buffalo? No. They did not run the ball enough. They did not try it enough. They did not make it successful. But for James Cook, he's their most talented offensive player. For him to
he looked unstoppable at times.
Yeah, he had that one drive where he accounted for 50 yards on that drive. And then he finished the day with 99 yards. So he had 49 yards for every drive after the second drive for the Bills. Like, that's a really good day against one of the better rushing attacks that you're going to see this season. Now,
and they were making them feel you, man. They were making them feel them.
Yes.
Making them feel them.
Yes. Yes, they were. And I
know
that
Kincaid didn't do anything either. Like, that's the other thing. Kincaid, like the stat sheet, like Kincaid had 2 catches. Allen had 9 completions. Cook, if you were just watching the game and weren't keeping stats, you would have thought he was just completely dominant. And then you look and you're like, they actually kept him in check a little bit. Like, I can't minimize Buffalo. I'm sure they have all the excuses in the world, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. Shakir, he's not Nico Collins, but he's very important to what they do. Like, he's very important to what they do.
They act like Khalil Shakir is Justin Jefferson in Buffalo.
The way they talk about him is insane. So, yeah. but I'm sure that they would have something like that to say. And Josh Allen's hand is hurt and all that. I get it, but that defensive performance, shorthanded or not, that was as good as it gets, man. Like, the strength of the squad yesterday from beginning to end, not just one half, anything like that. It was the defense. So salute to the defense for doing what they needed to do.
And they left just, it's not a lot, but they left a little bit out there because Azeez Al-Shaair got hit in the hands twice by Josh Allen passes.
Man.
I'll give him
the second one was a gift.
I'll give him a break on the first one. I'll say he should have caught the second one. But this was the best defensive performance of the season. And I know people are upset. Oh, there weren't any sacks. Where's the sack in the bit? Pressures matter, people, especially on a guy like Allen.
Pressures matter, people. Listen to this guy. Especially
on a guy like Allen, and getting him uncomfortable and hitting him. Pressures matter. And the worm will turn. You will see the box score dictate with sacks.
Are we sure?
They will get there.
Are we sure?
I promise you. Yes.
Promise? Okay.
I promise you.
Okay.
I promise you.
I feel like I've been saying it for 5 weeks now.
The Texans are still the top team in the league when it comes to pressure. They generate more quarterback pressure than anybody else. Everybody who's upset, Danielle Hunter, they wasted their money. Look at Grenard. Look at what Minnesota did with Hunter's money. You know who has the most quarterback pressures in all of football? Danielle Hunter. Like, that's what you pay him for. $25 million man. You pay him to go pressure the quarterback. He pressures the quarterback. All right. You want to focus on 12 plays and they get a sack over the course of the season, or you want to focus on the constant uncomfortability that those defensive linemen create? It was a really good job by the defense, their best performance of the season. I don't know how sustainable this is, to your point earlier, Landry, because, again, Kamari Lassiter, 100% of the snaps. Derek Stingley, 100%. Kalen Bullock played 100% of the snaps in this one. Eric Murray's going to play a lot while Jimmy Ward is down. Azeez Al-Shire, who reportedly was in the hospital Saturday night receiving treatment because he was so sick and couldn't keep food down, goes out there and plays 100% of the snaps.
He was on Jello and Jello, Pedialyte, and Emergency.
Yeah, he's on that Cody Stoots hangover cure. Not saying he was a hangover, but that's what I do.
By the way, Sprite is the hangover cure is Gatorade and Alka-Seltzer. If y'all need that, gotcha.
Ooh.
Gatorade and Alka-Seltzer. Put the Alka-Seltzer in the Gatorade, shake it up. Drink the Gatorade down to the first line. Put the 2 Alka-Seltzers in, shake it up, chug it. Don't sip it. Chug it as best you can. You might feel like you're going to throw up. If you do throw up, you're still good. If you don't, you're still good. That's the hangover cure. You're welcome.
Do you like those Gatorade electrolyte drinks?
I do, because I'm basically drinking Pedialyte, but I'm not. But I can say that I'm not drinking Pedialyte. So it kind of it's kind of like a little bit of a front.
Yeah. So an excellent performance for the defense, and there's still more to this defense as well. Like I feel like they have more at this point. They've established to me that they're going to stop the run. I'll be surprised if they don't end up as one of the top run stopping teams in the league. And yeah, I know the Minnesota game didn't look good, but that was one big Aaron Jones play from a rushing standpoint. Like, they're going to stop the run. It's going to be difficult to run on them consistently over the course of a game. I just don't, from a sustainability standpoint, I do worry about that. But right now, they're taking care of their business over on defense. And my goodness, are they picking up this offense when the offense is wetting themselves?
Yeah, and then you get Danico Autry back, which is crazy because, I mean, ideally you don't want someone to get suspended, but damn, I mean, if you beat New England, you're 5-1, and he's coming back, and he's just adding a whole new element that no one has seen before. So it's kind of crazy that we're almost working out like a trade deadline acquisition in a crazy way, and he's going to be rested up. That was one of the knocks. Oh, he's a little bit older. Well, he's going to have fresh legs. He's basically – Autry's basically playing an 11-game season. He's basically playing a college season. That's Autry's basically playing a college season. It's not NFL. He's resting up. He's probably foaming at the mouth having to watch this team play. If he is what they thought he was, and sometimes the guys that they bring in are not what they thought they were. Sometimes they are. I have not heard a more emphatic pitch for a player that Nick Caserio has brought in as much as I've heard him gas up Danico Autry and Azeez Al-Shire. We've seen Al-Shire. It looks pretty good. They, like, for the players that they've brought in, as far as just gassing the dude up, Nick Caserio called him a badass. Football playing Jesse, badass. That's what he called him.
He said he'd take him into a dark alley for him with a fight.
Said that'd be his first choice. So if Danico Autry is what they think he is, then it's a whole new element on this pass rush.
He also lets D'Amico Ryans get really creative with his defensive line, because Autry can play outside, Autry can play inside. You could do that with Barnett. You could do that with Will Anderson. They could do a lot of moving around, mixing and matching, and it takes some of the snaps away. Like you weren't putting Jerry Hughes out there for a bunch of snaps, you know. Dylan Horton's still got to work into football shape, I would think. So you're not putting him out there for a whole bunch of snaps. When Autry gets back, once he gets into football shape, you can put him out there. Barnett, you can put him out there. Like, you can put those guys out there, and that keeps Anderson and Hunter fresh. It keeps them fresh over the course of a season. The backups as well.
I mean, there's a lot of big investment. Like, this is it's
$1 million on this guy.
This is not. You talk about him. It's almost like, oh, he's a depth guy. He's going to add depth. Well, they looked at him as a little bit more than a depth guy.
Well, he was going to be the most important backup on the team. That's what he was going to be. Like, that's what they paid him as. He's going to be, this is the most important backup we have on the roster, because he's going to come in here and he's going to be an excellent pass rusher off the bench for us because we have
even a backup, you're playing probably 33% of the defensive snaps,
right?
Like even like at minimum. So that's the other thing, you know. So it's they like him. I mean, now whether they're right or not, who knows? But they have sung the praises of this guy like I've never seen before.
Yeah, that defense playing really well right now. Reinforcements on the way with Autry. We know when he's coming back. At some point, Christian Harris will be back. That's a little bit of reinforcements. And then, from the secondary standpoint, there may not be any reinforcements. They may just have to make it work with what they've got. But Kalen Bullock has not looked out of place. I remember on draft night when he was drafted, reading about him, like, he may need to, sit and wait. Nope. Get in there, kid. Get in there, kid. Let's see what you got.
Anthony Morrison, shout out to you for swarming the super chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Don't ever do that dance to Boosie again, please. It's disrespectful right there. What are you doing? Josh Allen, he said, I remember hearing Josh Allen isn't going to miss those when our defensive backs get beat. Well, he actually did. I think the pressures are causing these overthrows. Man, look, I agree with you because I was if you're calling me out, yeah, I did not think Josh Allen was going to miss throws that Anthony Richardson and Trevor Lawrence missed. I 100% believe that. You do have to at some point wonder if maybe there is something to what he said. And shout out to you, Anthony. We appreciate you for joining us on Reaction Monday. We're live 9 a.m. Tuesday through Thursday as well. And then 4 o'clock when the final injury report drops, we're always on the scene. We'll be there at D'Amico's presser today. I mean, there is going to be something to that if this continues to be a trend. I just don't, I don't know, but it is crazy when you have 3 examples, one of them being elite, and then Lawrence and Richardson.
Yeah, one of it. Well, here's the thing. Look how easy it was for Trevor Lawrence to complete some big passes against a team that didn't have the pass rush the Texans had. I mean, he was dropping some bombs on the Colts.
Yeah, he looked good. So it's been a pretty positive Reaction Monday at this point. Shout out to everyone. There's no certain mindset. Sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive.
I think it's been a little positive because we showcased where you could put the shield up for Bobby Slowik, but he's taking some arrows.
In the defense, I think they've left some meat on the bone as well. But that's 2 of the 3 phases. We got to get to this 3rd phase, and I want to start this 3rd phase off by saying it's been one of the most elite things the Texans have had for a few years, special teams. But right now, special teams, outside of Kaimi Fairbairn's heroics, special teams have been very suspect. And yesterday, it appeared that for the first time this season, we were going to have a game where there wasn't just a complete F up by the special teams. And we'll put the punter to the side. We'll get to that. Robert Woods yesterday fielded a punt inside the 5 on the possession where CJ Stroud ended up fumbling, and the Texans had to start in their own territory as they were kind of trying to milk clock and protect a 3-point lead. It's one thing to see Steven Sims do that and muff the punt. But when you see a veteran like Robert Woods do it, it leads to like some serious questions. Like, is Frank Ross coaching these guys to not field punts inside the 5? Or is this just something that they're willing to do? Is this one of these like nerdy ass analytic things? I really got to figure this out because that was dumb. And it started the Texans out deep in their own territory. And Robert Woods was actually a clear upgrade over Steven Sims. Steven Sims has been benched. Robert Woods was better. He had the big return in the second half that led to points immediately. He had the big return to midfield. He was kind of feeling himself. He was an upgrade over Steven Sims, regardless of how old he is or how slow you think he is. He was an upgrade. But this was the 3rd time that the Texans have had a dumbass play inside the 5-yard line. You had a block punt where it looked like someone fell asleep, where you gave the Colts a free touchdown in a 1-possession game. You had a Steven Sims muff against the Jags, which gave the Jags 7 points to start the game after a good defensive effort. And then you had this situation with Robert Woods. Then the punter's been one of the worst in the league. And I got to tell you this, he is the opposite. He's Oppo AI. From now on, that is what I am calling Tommy Townsend. He's Oppo AI.
We in here talking about practice.
Because Allen Iverson, when the lights are bright and it's a real game, he's one of the best to do it. When practice is going on, he's not even going to practice. I promise that Tommy Townsend looked awesome in practice. I was not making that up. He looked really good. Given his body of work and given how he looked in practice, it is shocking how ass Tommy Townsend has been punting the football. He's been nothing short of ass. He's been terrible. I think he's 28th, 29th right now in the NFL in yards per punt. 28. Yesterday, he shanked a 33-yarder to midfield. There was another one where he punted it out of bounds. I don't know if there's like some sort of mental element to getting a punt block for the first time in your career. Maybe that kind of explains it. But I'm to the point where if Tommy Townsend doesn't punt better than he has the first few games, there might be a guy off the streets that can do a better job because he has been awful, surprisingly awful.
Yeah, it was not good yesterday. He had 40 yards on the first one. He had the 33-yard punt at one point. These were his punts yesterday. From the 9, he had a 40-yard punt. From the 16, he had a 61-yard punt. That's probably one of his better ones of the year. From the 32, he had a 33-yard punt. From the 45, he had a 41-yard punt. And then he had from the Buffalo 49, he had a 46-yard punt. That's the one that pinned him deep there. But he's the 28th ranked punter in yards per punt at 44.7. His average yesterday was 44.2. And you're not supposed to be worrying about this guy. Like
it was supposed to be like he's going to be okay. Like at the worst, Cody, I was thinking, okay, this guy might not be as good as Cam Johnston. And Cam Johnston, by the way, is out for the season. But that was at the worst. I was thinking, okay. And I told you before the season, I said, okay, we're loving up on Tommy Townsend. Someone who knows a lot better than me about punting says you need to slow down. He is not Cam Johnston, and you need to slow down. Knows a lot better about punting than me, said that. And I was just like, whatever. You must just like Cam Johnston or something. But he's been terrible. He has been awful. They're outside of a good punt against Minnesota, where he pinned them deep and the Texans weren't able to take advantage in the second quarter. And then the final punt where they downed it inside the 5, and maybe he can build off of that. But I need some distance. Like I need some distance from you at this point. You're supposed to be the guy with the distance. He's been terrible.
I mean, the guy's he's a former All-Pro and he stinks. Like, what's going on here?
I don't know.
I mean, you're pinned deep in your own territory, and you can't even put them on the other side of the field. Come on.
Yeah, he's bad. He's been bad. Now there is like the body of work makes you think that perhaps he can get better, but he's been awful. And I don't know what this deal is with guys returning punts inside the 5. Maybe they don't subscribe to that. That was like one of the first middle school lessons that you got. Hey, if you put the back of your feet at the 5, and if it goes over your head, you don't field it. It doesn't feel like the Texans.
I don't want to see them field another punt, and I don't want to see them field another punt inside the 10. The first Robert Woods one was he caught it at the 8 and ran out of bounds. Like,
I mean, the 10, that's a little bit dramatic.
I don't want to see him catch another punt inside the 10-yard line. Live with the result.
The 10.
Live with the result.
The 10.
Yes, inside the 10. I don't want to see him catch another one inside the 10.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle that and what Frank Ross says about the special teams, because it has not been good, to say the very least. It has been very bad. It is SNL Reaction Monday. Yeah. Landry Locker, Cody Stoots reaction to the Texans going 4-1 after the Bills. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe, right along to both of our channels.
Now we know why Nick Caserio spent half a practice watching the Iowa kid at the Senior Bowl.
Chicago's punter now.
Yeah, Torrey Taylor, 4th rounder. So I wouldn't have spent a 4th on him, but kid's pretty good.
Yeah, well, they could have had a Reza, the punt god.
Could have. Let's see where he is on the punt 8th in the league, 50.1 yards per punt. Good
The punt
Lord.
god, dude. The punt god, cheap, man.
Hey, who did Brian Anger used to punt for? Oh, that's right.
Look, Cam was fine. We don't need to go back to.
He's not
Brian
even
Anger.
playing right now, so it's
Yeah, Cam was good, but yeah, they need to figure that out. I think that like it's on concerns. I think by performance, he's at the bottom. I don't think there's any player on this roster. Like if we're putting it all, we're not just putting proportion, but as far as like actual performance based on realistic expectation, I think Tommy Townsend is the biggest one seed that there is. I don't think there's anyone even in the category. Performance based on expectation.
Yeah, I mean you
could just say performance, and he's near the top of the worst performance. But performance based on realistic expectation, I don't even think anyone steps to him.
You and I had different levels of expectation for Shaq Mason coming in this season. But he's been bad, so but
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. You did not. I had higher expectations for Shaq Mason. He's been bad, real bad.
He's at least old.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's old and plays a physical position. What's Tommy Townsend's
He's at least
excuse?
played a lot of football.
You know what? If he doesn't get better, he's got to cut the hair. You can't have long hair and be bad. I think that should be a rule.
Oh, Townsend?
Mm-hmm. I think if he doesn't get better,
he's got to get rid of the man bun. I think he's got to put his man bun on the line.
If he doesn't get better, he's got to cut the hair. He's got to do like when samurai are disgraced, they chop off their top knot.
Okay.
If he doesn't get better, they have to have a ceremony. Baseball players do this better than anybody. Like when they bury somebody's glove in the outfield or something because they suck at defense.
Yeah.
They got to have some ceremony, and they got to have Kaimi come in there and chop off Tommy Townsend's man bun.
The hell?
And he'll be better. He'll be better.
So yesterday I was, and we're about 550 deep here in the simulcast. We appreciate everyone for coming through very, very much. We love talking
remember,
Texans with you.
You can catch this on podcast. So if you're not watching the whole thing, I want to miss it. I don't know where I was on the video podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can download it each day.
So yesterday we went in the locker room after the game, and I was looking around, and everybody was getting like their one-on-ones and stuff like that. I saw Greg Bailey over there, the great Greg Bailey, and he was interviewing Tommy Townsend for TV, and I was like, "What the hell are y'all saying?" I wanted to turn it on and watch it and be like, "What is Greg talking about with Tommy Townsend?" But I didn't. I never saw it. I think I was with Fisher at the time, but I looked over and I was like, "Wow, they got to stand up with Tommy Townsend. Like, is it slim pickings? Like, is there too much going on?" They had all like, can you not go get a little Dare Gumbawale? He'll do it for you. He's ready.
Yeah, Dare Gumbawale or hell, the luchador Neville Hewitt. Like, go get him. Like he had somebody. Good Lord.
Yeah, no doubt.
The punter got a ABC 13 exclusive, huh?
Yep. How about that?
I probably could have grabbed an offensive lineman and had more from it.
I would say so. I would definitely say so. But I think we agree. Like there's a lot of middle ground when it comes to the defense and the offense. I think we can all agree that the special teams outside of Kaimi Fairbairn, who, by the way, let's give some appreciation to Kaimi Fairbairn. I mean, my God, all-time leading scorer in franchise history, and he's money this year. He's kicking better than he ever has. The 59-yarder to win it was not expected, but it was kind of expected.
I had this for you, Landry. Fill in the blanks. The Texans are blank and blank if they had a worse kicker. The Texans are blank and blank if they had a worse kicker. 1-4, 2-3,
2-3, maybe. I don't know. There would probably be some sort of adjustment.
Sure. Yeah, they might have operated it a little bit different here or there if they had a different kicker, but they're a losing football team if their kicker isn't performing as well as he has to this point. That's for sure.
Yeah. There's 0 doubt about that. Anything else that sticks out to you from the from the win that we need to address? And anything in any gray area, anything bad?
I mean, we're going to get to, okay, let's actually, this is a question that I want to ask you about. And Tommy just had a super chat about it. He asked about the Coleman touchdown, which Kamari Lassiter and Keon Coleman one-on-one.
I think Stoots muted himself on the Coleman TD on 4th down. He stepped out of bounds. Don't they confirm TDs with replay upstairs?
Yeah, his foot didn't go out of bounds. His heel was off the ground when it was on the edge. But I do want to ask about that play. What do you make of that play? The Kamari Lassiter just gets absolutely, I mean, it's put in a blender by Keon Coleman.
Well, I mean, I asked Kamari about it after the game, and that's available on the shorts section. He just said they were battling. And he got the best of him on the play. I mean, it was very simple. It was very accountable. It was his only catch. Like it was his only catch of the game. I just chalk it down to a guy making a play, and you probably want to be a little bit better there. That's really I chalked it, and I also chalk it to Buffalo's ability to kind of. There was just a lot of momentum that Buffalo had at that time. That was the momentum shift where you could kind of feel it. And that was actually, and I think it can go back to our previous conversation. So in that situation, it was the Bills' 8th drive on Houston's first drive of the second half. They end up overcoming a Dalton Schultz 15-yard penalty to get a field goal. CJ and Schultz unable to connect on 3rd down. They ended up being able to connect on 3rd down a little bit later, but the Texans take the 20-3 lead. Then by far the best drive of the day for the Bills. The Bills have immediately they get a 19-yard play, and then you had a Petrie 15-yard penalty, which with Allen sliding. Kincaid, his longest catch of the day for 26, and then you had a Cook touchdown to make it 20-10. You could kind of feel the momentum shifting as they cut it to 20-10. Then, and this is all connected, and that's the point of Reaction Monday. Sometimes you just talk it out. You had another inability for CJ Stroud and Dalton Schultz to connect, and this was when a 3rd and 2 turned into a 3rd and 7 as a result of a penalty. And then
ball started. The freaking running back.
But right after that, you have a 33-yard punt from Tommy Townsend, and that gives the Bills the ball at midfield with all of the momentum. And then you have Cooks move the chains. You get them to 4th and 5. They go for it, and there's a little bit of aggressiveness. A lot of people say you don't want them to play off. Won't want to play off. There's a little bit of over aggressiveness there, kind of a little bit balanced with Lassiter, and he ended up scoring. But I think it's a combination of a couple things. I think it's a guy making a play, which is what Coleman did. And I think Buffalo just had the momentum at that point. And I think you can also connect it to Tommy Townsend's crappy ass punt. I think it was an array of things.
Yeah, because if you've pinned Buffalo much deeper, and like you should have as a good punter, and you force a 4th down, they're probably punting. They're probably not going for it super deep, but being midfield, they can go for it. So I bring up the Lassiter play to bring this up. He's been, I mean, you can maybe pick out a play here or there. He's been excellent for a rookie, and he's up for defensive rookie of the year right now. He's a top 3 candidate, and he's been probably the best rookie cornerback so far. I know Nate Wiggins is getting a lot of love in Baltimore, but he's been probably the best rookie cornerback so far. And he has been, think about how dire the cornerback situation was when we were talking about it heading into training camp throughout the course of the offseason. And he has just solidified himself from day one. I mean, that first day of OTAs, he played a little bit inside, and then he was outside the rest of the time, and he basically has never left cornerback 2. Like, he has been excellent, and he's been a key piece to this defense. He never comes off the field, and I know that Keon Coleman gets him once. That's the life of a cornerback. You're going to give up a play, he
didn't seem too disappointed by it. Like, to be honest with you, he didn't seem to like. And it was like he was like, yeah, it was a battle. We were going at it, and I asked him about it because it's kind of funny how and it was the viral moment that I talked about with Lassiter, where last year Georgia played Florida State in the bowl game, the non-playoff, and Coleman opted out and Lassiter opted in, so they missed each other there. So this was the first time that they got a chance to go against each other. But I look, one catch, 49 yards, a touchdown. It was a big 49-yarder, but I don't think he was awesome, but I don't think he was that bad.
And another thing that he does that some cornerbacks don't do, and some guys aren't capable of doing at the cornerback spot. In fact, I bring this up because I saw some criticism during the Jets game. They played in London before the Texans played, that Sauce Gardner is a total liability in the way that he approaches rush defense. Kamari Lassiter fixed some plays on the back end that the linebackers in the front seven didn't get to. Like, he goes up there and
they hit. Hey, Derek Stingley was second in tackles yesterday.
Dude, those two, they might have the best tackling corner combo in all of football.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't know enough about the other tackling corners, but I will say this, and this is what I like the most about these guys.
They stick their nose in there.
Well, the other thing is Derek Stingley kind of had some blunders. And I say blunders. There was one blunder where he whiffed pretty bad, or like a week or two ago. And this was. It's almost like they kind of put some. They put some attention to this, and now they kind of overcame it. But I mean, these guys are coming in and making plays, man. Like, they're coming in there and making plays. The safeties are too. The safeties are too. I don't know how good this coverage is going to be, but quite frankly, here's the other thing about this. Like, we sit here and we say, man, how are they playing two corners, and what are they going to do when other teams try to figure it out? Christian Kirk had potential to get pretty loose on him, but like, if you look at the teams, and I'm looking at the top now. Kansas City doesn't have any receivers at this point. Like, they have one guy. They have one guy who can take the top off the defense, and he's young, and he has not had to play a long NFL season and all the physical things that come with it. And I'm talking about Xavier Worthy. Like, Baltimore has Flowers, and then who knows what else. The one team that you really fear the most, they don't even have a quarterback right now, and their season's in shambles. Talking about Miami. So maybe they'll get to a point where it won't be as much of a threat as we initially thought when it comes to playing the minimum amount of corners. But the one thing we know, that these mofos will light you up.
They are not afraid to just absolutely stick their nose in there on run defense. And there are so many corners that avoid that like the plague. So it is refreshing to see. Especially like a guy like Derek Stingley, who's got an injury history. Like, a lot of corners would not do what he does from that spot, and they love to get physical. And it's been a look. I probably mischaracterized the Kamari Lassiter draft pick.
Oh, I did too.
He's been excellent.
Yeah, I did too. For sure. And I mean, he was a CB2 immediately. ESG Soccer, shout out to you, my friend. Appreciate you on the super. Who's in charge of time management? Please ask. That would be D'Amico. It's a team effort, but that would be D'Amico. I'm assuming that this all goes back to the end of the game where could have had the 56-yard field goal, decided to try to throw to get closer, incomplete pass, and then they throw the intentional grounding, and that puts you out of field goal range. I'm assuming that would be the only clock management issue that we have with this squad. I don't know what to make of that one. I had no problem trying to get closer. I know eventually you kicked a 59-yarder, which is great. But I think if you have a chance to get closer, we've seen them punt rather than take the 56-yarder. I did not. I've seen. I don't.
Well, let's go through it. Let's go through it here. Let's go through it here. So the Texans have the football with 49 seconds. Okay, let me back it up here. Let's go through that little portion here. They come out. The Buffalo calls a timeout after the Texans complete a pass to Stefon Diggs. Minute 52. Pass to Dare Ogunbowale for 11 yards.
Of course.
He slides and stays in bounds.
Yes, he did. That was crazy awareness right there by that guy.
Great job by him.
Great
Job by the officials to let the slide count. Maybe he started early, yada yada, whatever. Okay.
That was some awareness, man.
Ogunbowale run play. Buffalo has no more timeouts at this point. So the Texans are in full control of the clock. They can do whatever they want to do. Schultz on 2nd and 8, Stroud hits him. He gets pushed out of bounds.
Right.
Okay. Clock stops. 44 seconds from the Buffalo 39-yard line.
So 56-yard field goal.
Okay. So 56-yard field goal. 44 seconds from the Buffalo 39-yard line.
Okay.
Stroud attempts to throw a pass.
Yeah.
Is called for intentional grounding. They lose 10 yards.
Right.
If they run the football and get 0 yards, they can kick a field goal as time expires because they have all their timeouts.
Closer than the one that they ended up kicking, right?
Closer than the one that they ended up kicking. I understand trying to not make it a 56-yarder.
Yeah, because they've punted it. They've punted instead of kicking a 56er early in games.
Yes.
I know.
I understand not making it a 56-yarder and just living with that.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if they should have attempted, because it was very clearly a one read. If Dalton doesn't have the leverage and isn't open, throw the ball away. It feels like if they were going to put it in the air, they should have called a different play.
They're doing something, and I had no problem with trying to get more yards. It's just really you can't get an intentional grounding there, and I don't think that was the goal. But they're doing some weird ass like get rid of the ball quick out of bounds crap to like it's almost like a stop the clock type of thing that it makes me kind of uncomfortable. It looked like that's what they were going to try to do against Indianapolis at the end of the first half when they were doing that goofy stuff. And we've seen it now where like, if there's 8 seconds left, they'll do that corny ass rollout and just throw it over. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable. The
play they called, they clearly had no intention of exposing themselves to losing yards. Right. So that makes me believe they were at least comfortable if they completed it with kicking the 56, they get 2 yards, 54
with
yarder.
No time left, right. They did that against the Titans last year, basically in the same territory, and they ended up kicking the 59. I have no problem trying to get more yards. That you just can't do it like that. And I think they've established like a weirdo, hey, we're gonna throw it away and keep some time on the clock type of thing. I just don't know. It's weird.
They seem to believe they have 3 or 4 second plays that get them 3 or 4 yards.
But I do know this: the Buffalo Bills. You know what they'll be doing 2 months and 2 weeks from today?
Hiring a new head coach?
No. 2 months and 2 weeks from today. What's 2 months and 2 weeks from today?
Is it Christmas?
Yeah. They'll be regifting because they regifted whatever you think the Texans did wrong there. They regifted with a 20-second drive in which they didn't even force the Texans to use a single timeout.
Not even a 20-second drive, 16 seconds. 16 seconds. They got the ball with 32 seconds left, and the Texans got it back with 16 seconds.
I was sitting there like, man, like, do you feel like maybe you should just run it 3 times and go to overtime and like kind of feel fortunate that they didn't even get a game-winning field goal attempt off, which is awful. That is inexcusable. Regardless of regardless of who you want to blame, that is inexcusable.
So really good job by the Texans defense because the Bills were trying to throw for the first down to guarantee overtime. Okay. If they get a first down, they guarantee overtime. because the Texans wouldn't have had enough timeouts to get the ball back. But you could have achieved roughly the same effect by running the ball 3 times with one of the better running backs in football, forcing the Texans to use all their timeouts, and then just kicking it as hard as you can, as far as you can, and keeping the Texans from getting into field goal range. Like, horrible clock management by the Bills. They had another short drive. They had another short possession where they basically took no time off the clock in the second half.
Here's the other thing. You have James Cook and Josh Allen. Like, it's not like you're just completely tapping out. If you decide to run the rock,
you could have done 3 quarterback sneaks.
That's what I would do. You know me with QB sneaks.
And forced, D'Amico takes all 3 timeouts, and you don't have hardly, you don't have the ability. The Texans had their timeouts so they throw that one pass, they get 5-6 yards, whatever it is, and set up the 59-yarder. If they get in the same part of the field where Woods started the drive after the return with no timeouts, they can't throw the football into the middle of the field because they don't have enough time. But Sean McDermott didn't force them to use any of their timeouts. The Texans used none.
Did not. Anthony Medina says Drake May will start potentially per Schefter. Well, that's good because you avoid the Texans killer Jacoby Brissett. So that's a good. That's a break right there for the Texans. Rookie quarterback though, haven't gotten a look. I think D'Amico can handle a rookie quarterback. We think. Zach Rose says Jimmy Ward goes down first play. SMH. This dude is ultimate liability. He came back in, but he came back in
and made a tackle for a loss.
Yeah, he came back in and then
he went back out.
So
he also got a contract extension.
Yes, he did. 1-year contract extension. Miles and that Cognac says, nah, I disagree. Running the ball deep in your end zone runs a possible risk of a safety, and you give Houston the ball back. No, that's incorrect. Because
throwing the ball doesn't.
Yeah, throwing the ball, a hold in the end zone actually ends the game. There, like a QB sneak with Josh Allen or like a run with Cook, it's actually a safer play than throwing out of your own end zone. So incorrect there, my friend.
I actually asked Tim Settle about this after the game. I was like, hey, when they're pinned deep and it's tie game, are you thinking, hey, we can end this thing with a safety? He's like, yeah, we were. I was like, a holding call too. He goes, yeah, I forgot. You get a safety on a holding call. I was like,
Tim Settle was going stone cold yesterday. Will Conkle, Fox 26 says, any update on the OnlyFans option? Yeah, that's not happening. I think Stoots does. Stoots actually has a real popular following. There's a lot of people with fetishes that really like Stoots. He can make at least 6 figures on the OnlyFans.
If you want to give us money, the super chat function is an option, and then Houston football at $7 a month.
Yeah.
And for all you weirdos,
no, don't do this.
See my feet,
dude. What in the hell?
There you go. There you go, all you weirdos. You can see my feet there.
What in the hell was that? Shout out to Texans Cap. He's in here too.
Kunkel's a foot guy.
Kunkel, by the way, is having pretty good news time. He got the Brevin Jordan story. He said Tank Dell was going to play last Monday.
Yep.
And then he said that before the injury report came out that Titus Howard was not. So he's actually doing a good job over there on Fox for sure. Dude, you probably are a foot sucker, aren't you? I'm not even going to get into this. Yeah, you probably are. I'm done with this.
Kunkel's the one trying to pay me money for it.
But I need you to be honest, dude. And I need you to apologize. It takes a real man to admit when he was wrong. I've been wrong many a times about some very big things. Bryce or bust, that was me. I have no shame in admitting I'm wrong. I just try to give the most educated opinion possible. But Cody Stoots was not a believer in Blake Fisher. You need to apologize to Blake Fisher. You owe him an apology. And I hate when people demand apologies, but I'm demanding an apology from you for what you said about Blake Fisher.
He had a good game yesterday when you put it in context of what it is. And this is not something I said yesterday. Look, did he have a bad second half? Yeah. So did the rest of the offensive line. Okay.
The O-line gave up 1 sack.
Yeah, but we've talked about this. It's not always sacks. It's pressures matter too.
Chewy says Fisher gave up a sack. Okay, Titus Howard hadn't given up any.
Well, let me. So Blake Fisher in the context of what Blake Fisher is, second-round pick, making his first NFL start, he had a good performance when you put it in context. Now, when I apply current Titus Howard standards to him, he had a good performance too. So, like, I thought there was going to be a massive drop off.
There's a lot of room for improvement, man. There's a lot of room for improvement.
Look, if he
How
plays,
did he give up the fumble? CJ fumbled.
Well, his guy.
I mean, come on,
dude. His guy destroyed him on that play.
I mean, come on.
His guy destroyed him on that play.
Come on. You were saying he was getting destroyed when he wasn't. I mean, come on. The CJ's got to hold on to the rock there.
His guy teleported him 6 yards backwards into CJ.
He's got to hold on to the rock there, CJ. He also had the interception too. CJ,
I didn't know. Hold on.
Not perfect yesterday.
I didn't know we were going to be blaming the franchise quarterback and not the rookie right tackle for the fumble.
CJ, by his standard, was not good in that stretch. He had the interception that kept it a field goal game, and then he had the fumble, and then he had the grounding. I mean, he was not, like, by his standards, CJ Stroud was not good yesterday. He had some very, very huge mistakes. The grounding prevented you, whether you think it was the right call or not, prevented you from getting off a field goal attempt. The interception prevented you from perhaps extending the lead to 2 scores or extending it at the worst to a touchdown. And the fumble gave Buffalo an opportunity to tie the game or perhaps take the lead. So
some uncharacteristic CJ mistakes.
And by the standard that he has set, CJ Stroud was not great. I think he would agree with that. He was fine. And when you needed him most, he handled his business. But
back to your Fisher point, sleeping on it, thinking about it more. Rookie making his first start, and that's the best. He more often than not went against Buffalo's remaining best pass rusher, in Greg Rousseau.
Yeah,
he had a pretty solid performance.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the standard in front of him? Like, well, he's got to hold his block. Okay, have you watched Titus Howard play? You've got like a half decade sample size of that. So have you watched Titus Howard play? That's my question. Have you? It
was much easier to be critical of him last week when he fills in for Laramie and doesn't have a good 20 snaps in the middle of a game, obviously. But it's a lot harder to say, yeah, he was awful, and the guy in front of him is way better, because that just wasn't the case. Like, you could have had the same level of performance from Titus Howard yesterday.
Yeah, he'll be fine. CJ's worst stretch of ball since the Jets game. That's kind of harsh. I actually think he's been playing excellent. I mean, he's been finding ways to win. I just
number one passing offense.
Oh, he's saying stretch. He's saying stretches in yesterday. He's not talking about, like, when I think stretch, I think games. He's talking about the stretch in the second half.
Gotcha.
He was without his best receiver too. It'll be interesting to see this offense if they have to function without Nico. No, I agree. That was not ideal. CJ Stroud.
I thought he meant just like to the season. I was like, hold on, what?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Corey, but I think that's what he means. I think he means like during that stretch right there. I would agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree.
144 yards in the second half, but the mistakes, he still made some big plays. And
oh God, there goes
our buddy
Jeff Malone Swarm.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Of course, the Texans win when it doesn't matter. Stoots is probably already writing his victory parade speech, but I'll believe in this team when they can actually beat someone good. The Bills are good. I think the Bills are good, but
the Bills are good.
And I think this avoiding December is important. Avoiding Buffalo in January, I believe, is important.
Yes,
I think so.
The Bills are good, Jeff. You hater.
Yeah, I think the Bills are a good squad.
What victory parade speech am I? They're going to let me go on the stage at the parade? I don't think so.
Wes says keep drilling down on Fisher versus Howard. No, I just think we got to understand what he's replacing. I mean, I think that's important when it comes to the evaluation. Like, you tell me how many games you've watched where Titus Howard doesn't get beat a couple of times, and this is a rookie making his first start, and he's swinging back and forth from left to right. I think the kid's going to be fine. I think he's going to hold up. I think he's got the makeup. I don't think the offense just completely fell off with
I was worried
With
he
him
was
out
gonna
there.
he was gonna be he was gonna make that side of the line a leaky side of the line, and he didn't. So really
I
good
don't know if
job
this
by
is
him.
sarcasm or not. That interception, someone said that interception was not CJ's fault. The
Bills players shouldn't have caught the pass.
Bills players shouldn't have caught the pass.
I think John's having some fun with you.
Yeah.
I hope this is sarcasm too. Schultz playing uninspired this season.
His body language is
What?
never going to I'll tell you this. His body language is never going to satisfy you. It's never going to satisfy you. It's very nonchalant. The yak is not he's not quite Nico Collins with the yak. But yeah, I don't know if he's uninspired. I think he's playing fine.
Dude,
a lot of blocking.
a lot of
blocking though. I don't like Dalton Schultz lead blocking though. I can do without that. I'd
Well,
rather not have a fullback.
They don't have a blocking tight end. You know, Stover does his best, and so does Schultz, but it's not good. Schultz had some really big catches for this team in the second half, and after not being involved in the first half, like he does so much outside of the box score for this offense. It's crazy to be super critical of Dalton Schultz. Now that sounds like somebody drafted him on their fantasy team and they're upset with the box score.
Yeah, I mean that could be. They're not, the tight ends aren't asked to do a ton. Him and CJ did get it going on third down. Probably going to need that if you don't have Nico this week. Yep. Zach says this was a conference game. Those matter the most, and Buffalo's the top 5 team. Jeff is crazy. I agree. Jeff is a dumbass. We don't need to hear from Jeff.
All right, if you can say whatever you want on the super chats, we'll read it probably. Careful. Careful with that, Cody. All right.
That unsportsmanlike penalty on Schultz was stupid. I didn't really the penalty for me yesterday that I didn't understand was the Petrie one, because he didn't hit him. And it was almost like you flagged his intent, which I thought penalties were result driven, not necessarily intent. Now, so I understand if you're throwing a punch or something like that, but if you dive at the quarterback and you miss him, why is that a penalty? And then later on, you have the roughing the passer where it's like they don't call it on the guy because they said it was above CJ Stroud's legs. I didn't even know that was a thing, or something that they enforced. And then the ref called the football a basketball, which was really weird.
So watching the Allen play back and based on where the official was standing when the play happened, I mean, Petrie's head connected with him. And I think that's what the official saw and was like, oh, that guy started to slide, throw the flag. Like that was a going through the motions. I don't believe that should have been a penalty. Like, yeah. When you slow it down and you watch, okay, it's easy. In real time, I don't believe that should have been a penalty.
Yeah, I get it. Like all bets are off when it comes to quarterback hits, but I like, so you can hit above the knee. I don't know. That was weird. I didn't think that was grounding either on CJ. I think they need to call, like, I get the rule, but I actually thought that Allen had one where he was just throwing it in the ground and it was probably like 8 yards away from the receiver. There was one where D'Amico dialed up a perfect blitz. I think it was on a second down, 2nd and 10. It was with the Bills going right to left. So it must have been in the, I think maybe the fourth quarter. I'm not sure. It was either in the third or fourth quarter. But Allen just like threw it short of the running back. And it was probably like 8 yards, but he was in the vicinity. That is more grounding to me than like a miscommunication with Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
That was
it feels like they have gotten more aggressive with grounding in recent years at the NFL.
Have they?
It feels like they have. It feels like there used to be a lot more leeway with, that guy's in the area. I feel like they have.
I feel like they're very lenient with it. But who knows? That could have been a costly penalty. That could have been the main talking point had the Texans not gotten it done. The reality has sunk in, if it hadn't already. The run game sucks without Mixon. I think we need to officially have the Texans accept the fact that the run game is Mixon dependent, and that's not a guarantee that it's going to be great when Mixon comes back. but any hope at a good run game is Mixon dependent. You know it. I know it. Dare Ogunbowale, by the way, 15 carries for 30 yards. I like what Dare Ogunbowale can do, but it almost feels like ass backwards rationalization from D'Amico and Bobby Slowik based on what Dare Ogunbowale exactly did last week. And I'll explain this. These were the exact same running backs that they had last week. Like this was, it's not like, Cam Akers went out and all of a sudden you had to adjust and we got to figure something out with Dare Ogunbowale. It's almost like they watched him in the pass game last week where he had the 31-yard reception, he had the touchdown, and they said, you know what? This guy might be LaDainian Tomlinson or Emmitt Smith. Like, we really need to run him between the tackles at this point, because there were signs at the beginning, because it felt kind of weird, because we're sitting there in the press box and all of a sudden the introductions are happening and Dare Ogunbowale is running out the damn tunnel getting introduced as a starting running back. And you're like, oh, wow, Dare Ogunbowale, not Cam Akers, getting introduced as a starting running back. And I was like, maybe it's a little gesture for what he did last week. And, appreciate you for coming through when we needed you most. Thank you for the touchdown. So we're going to let you come out the tunnel. You've never done this before. You've never done this before in your career, I don't think. So, Dare, we're going to let you go through the tunnel and let you get loved up on by the fans. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a nice little gesture. Then the first drive, he gets 3 straight touches, including a 3rd and 8 draw. And then he gets the first touch on the next on the next drive, and I'm immediately sitting there thinking, about to lose my bleep. How the hell does Dare Ogunbowale get 4 straight touches to start a game? And then as soon as I'm about to bitch about it, he gets a 21-yard reception. So I'm like, okay, there is value of Dare Ogunbowale, but I feel like the Texans have an ass backwards way of evaluating that value, because where his value is in the pass game. And as we continue, he gets 15 carries. Akers gets 9. I think Akers averaged like damn near 4.5. Dare averaged 2 yards. I don't like Cam Akers is the better option running the football, right? Like, I'm not crazy for thinking that.
Hold on, let me see here.
Uh-oh. Are you about to play devil's advocate and defend the Dare usage?
No, I'm trying to. That didn't stick. That didn't stick either. Well, that didn't stick either. They're just throwing stuff at the wall till Mixon gets back, man. Maybe it's Dare, maybe it's Cam. J.J. Taylor ran the ball last week. They're just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it sticks, because they need Joe Mixon. They need Joe Mixon.
No, and this is Quentin saying Dare slander will not be tolerated. The man's a beast. I agree. Like, there's value with Dare Ogunbowale. They might not have won the last 2 games without Dare Ogunbowale. I agree. Like, there's value. And I do wonder if they think, okay, because we just talked about earlier on, and this is what I like most about Reaction Monday, is we talk out a lot of things. But like, maybe, like, let's try to understand this. Maybe like the same way that we're talking about, and the same way that Texans Cap messaged me with the 60+% run plays on Mechie being on the field and Hutchinson, maybe they think that there's no value with Dare Ogunbowale in the pass game if every time he comes in, they know it's going to be a pass. So maybe there's something to that, and they believe that. And quite frankly, I'm not going to completely dismiss it. I'll just say this. It's kind of wild to watch Dare Ogunbowale touch the ball the first 4 plays. Even the Buffalo media was mocking it. And then to see like kind of how important he is. So I'm not sitting here saying that there's not like some sort of like deeper than some blowhard media type or a fan thing to it, but it is kind of crazy when you watch Dare Ogunbowale do that. He's been good, but he's also, I think he also looks better based on the company that he has.
I mean, they've got, look, Akers, yes. Like I trust him running the football a little bit more. I mean, he had 42 yards in the game. He had 26 on 2 carries. Those first 2 carries, he had 11 and 15. They're averaging, quick and dirty math here, 3.1 yards per carry with running backs over the past 3 games. That ain't going to cut it. That'd be the worst in the league by a good margin over the course of a season. So Mixon, and I even Want to see if Pierce has anything, but just get Mixon healthy, put it back there, let him be the bell cow, and put Dare in there on third down for pass blocking. And let's figure this rushing attack out.
Dare's also becoming kind of like a folk hero here, man. Like, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. Like, there's something to be said for somebody who maximizes what God gave them. And I think in a world where we talk about, man, this offensive lineman's making this and he sucks, he can't do anything like this. Like, and that's just the world of sports. Like a guy who just happens to be steady and he creates he's been in the league damn near 10 years. How long's Dare been in the league? Like it's not like he's young. Like Dare Gumbawale, he's been around for a while. Like he wasn't even like the workhorse at Wisconsin.
2017 was when he was an undrafted free agent, and he spent time with 3 different teams in 2017.
He's in his 8th season.
Yeah.
And he's playing his best in 8 years. So like in the world where and I'm acknowledging that with what we do, there's a level of bitching and complaining and analyzing, however you want to look at it. Where this guy's doing this and he doesn't try as hard and he doesn't care. Dare Gumbawale is everything that you would want in a player. And I'll say this, like if everybody maximized their abilities like Dare Gumbawale has, then I mean you would never have an underachieving football team. So I acknowledge that. And you also factor in the Tampa Bay game where he's kicking a damn field goal for you. It kind of adds to the legend. But with all that said, he should not be your number one option at running back and running between the tackles. Like there's a middle ground there where we can meet.
There, you can simultaneously be proud of what Dare Gumbawale is accomplishing at the NFL level with everything that he's gone through to get to this point, and also understand he should not be the lead back for a football team.
Yes, let me put it this way. Fortunately, there's really good surroundings with Dare Gumbawale, and it's the right time for this to happen, and he's doing a good job stepping in, and there's clear guys that are superior to him as options that are unable to be on the field. But if this were, let's just be serious, if this were 2021 or 2022, then he would be getting Rex Burkhead energy in bulk.
Ding.
I think we can agree with that. So shout out to Dare Gumbawale. They need to get something going with the run game. I think we did a good job of kind of meeting in the middle on that. Is there anything else from this game that we missed or that we need to get to? Y'all can put it in the comments as well. If you want to help us out. For me, like my main takeaway was that this one was different. I think this one was different. I also think that there were signs that life without Tank Dell might be interesting. And I know that right now the Texans open as a 7-point favorite against New England.
You said Tank, you meant Nico.
What's that?
You said Tank, you meant Nico.
Yeah, Nico. I said life without Tank. We've experienced life without Tank. Life without Nico is going to be interesting. A 7-point favorite, but this would be it would be a good test to pass if you're able to go to New England and win a game without Nico Collins, regardless of rookie quarterback or any of that type of stuff.
That's certainly something that is it's a Bills game conversation, but it also spills into New England, Green Bay, Indianapolis, which is your next 3, 2 on the road, and then coming back home for Indianapolis. I am a little bit worried about what opposing teams can do to this Texans offense without the threat of Nico Collins. And we saw a little bit of it in the second half from the Bills, and CJ Stroud was still able to put up some yards, and they moved the ball a little bit, and ultimately they got the first field goal, and then as the punts, the interception, and they moved the ball on that interception drive. They were in the red zone when that interception happened, the fumble. But I do worry about, it felt like Collins and the way that they use him is the perfect type of receiver to attack the way defenses play them. And I don't know that Diggs or Dell replicates that one for one. So you may have to get a little creative to handle it. And I don't know that that's something you can do in the middle of the game, which is why it's so difficult. It looks so difficult in the second half.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Uh-huh.
Like, does it feel like opposing teams really even give Nico Collins a ton of attention? Like, does it seem like, because I don't, it doesn't feel like, despite how good he's playing better than any receiver in the league by far. Does it feel like he even gets like that much attention? That's not to say that you're lost without him. I mean, he makes plays, but does it feel like we've had a situation where the Texans go into a game and the opposing DC is like, we're going to shift everything over to Nico Collins and we're going to make him beat us. Does it feel like that's happened?
That has not happened yet.
Is that not crazy? Is that not like a little bit weird?
Teams treat Tyreek Hill that way. Teams treat Justin Jefferson that way.
And I don't think he's that.
Right. But I mean, even if you played the Giants next week, you would treat Malik Neighbors that way.
Yeah. Like, so where does it, when does it happen?
I don't know. I understand Indy week one. Like, actually, no, I don't understand Indy because he dominated you last year.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand Indianapolis.
Yeah, that would be the one team that I would think would perhaps try.
The very just like, hey, like, I'm not going to let their best guy beat us. Like, I'll go down if, this guy or that guy, the number 2 receiver, the number 3 receiver, the tight end, the running back beats us. Like, I don't know how you can walk into these games and be like, yeah, one-on-one with Nico. Yeah, don't put any extra over there. Nah, don't double him. Like, and I know Diggs is on the team and I know Dell's on the team, but like, trust some of your other guys to go win some one-on-ones and take Nico Collins away. It doesn't feel like anybody's done that yet.
No, it doesn't. Let's get into the division. The AFC South.
I have one more thing from this game.
Go ahead.
I feel like you were an Azeez Al-Shaair skeptic prior to the season. Are you a believer now?
All right. Now that is very misleading by my friend and co-host, because I just didn't say he was like an immediate significant upgrade over Blake Cashman, which is what you said. You said he was an immediate upgrade over Blake Cashman. I was a little bit skeptical. I think Blake Cashman's a good player, and I thought that there was a little bit of respect. I'll put it this way: Blake Cashman catches that pass yesterday from Josh Allen. But
hold on, Blake Cashman plays through an injury? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I was about to say that. So yeah, I liked Azeez Al-Shaair. I just thought that you were very quick to dismiss the services of Blake Cashman last year, and I thought those were very valuable services that you don't have as much success without Blake Cashman. But he's done a very honorable thing, and I think what you just mentioned, it's significant. Availability is the best ability. I've heard a lot of blowhard coaches say that, and Azeez Al-Shaair yesterday suddenly appears on the injury report. You immediately think, okay, he's not going to play. But he gutted it out. I'm sure he's not feeling well today. I'm sure they might give him a couple days off. But yeah, I like Azeez Al-Shaair. I just didn't want to dismiss the services of one Blake Cashman.
Blake Cashman would have been in the hospital still.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Me. Also, I don't think anybody believed Henry To'o was going to take this type of leap that he did. He's been fantastic this year. No, he's been good, man. And it hasn't really gotten to an extreme point. AFC South stuff. So the Jags got to win. And the Titans right now sitting at 1-3. Texans have a 2-game lead on the Colts. They're going to face them shortly. Nobody in the AFC South, by the way, has a positive point differential. How about that? The Colts actually have the best point differential in the division. They're at -3 right now. They got a little Flacco magic going on. So the Texans are they're 1 point better than the Titans in point differential, and they got the Jags. So the Texans are atop the AFC South despite having a -12 point differential. What do we make of that?
I make that the AFC South stinks. And the Colts are a little bit more dangerous with Flacco than they were with Richardson. But, I mean, to get diced up by what the Jaguars have, that's not a really good performance at all. The Titans are awful. Their defense is probably a little bit better than most people realize, but their offense is putrid. and none of these teams scare me. You should handle your business against these teams. Flacco in a couple of weeks, if he's still the guy for the Colts, although it sounds like Richardson's not that far away because he was a doubtful this week. So, if it's Colts in 3 weeks, maybe Richardson's back. I welcome it, the Anthony Richardson experience. I'd be happy to have it. Flacco scares me more than him. And then the Jaguars don't scare me at all.
Yeah, the Jags
they'll have a new coach by the time the Texans play them again.
Oh, you think I don't know about that. I don't think they're going to do it in season.
You don't think so?
Nah, I don't think they're going to do it in season. But yeah, the division, you're kind of looking at other stuff right now, like Kansas City today. I mean, they got the Saints. You're starting to kind of look at those standings when it comes to the conference as a whole. Texans right now, they would be the 2 seed. So the Texans, if the playoffs began today, it's very early. But if they began today, the Texans would be the only place they would potentially have to go in their path would be Kansas City. So that's kind of where you're looking, and you just got the head-to-head against Buffalo.
You play the other likely division winners, and you've got a victory over Buffalo. So that's check one box. You got Baltimore and Kansas City as the other likely division winners. They're on your schedule. They're actually back-to-back in 4 days apart in December. So, if you go 2 out of 3 against the other 3 likely division winners, you're sitting pretty in AFC standings when it comes to playoff time. This is the thing that you asked Diggs about last week. We talked about it last week. Diggs even said it's an AFC team. It's a team you're supposed to play. He even said after this game, hey, we might play those guys again. It matters more than just a victory in week 5 because of where you are and where you want to go in 2024 and where you want the season to go as well.
Yeah, and they seem much more willing to embrace that after the game. Even Diggs was like, yeah, this was more than just one thing. I was trying to play it cool. It's like, yeah, we knew.
Diggs also, and I don't know, I didn't ask him, but he also sounded like he was sick. He had some his maybe it was just his voice from screaming after the game, but it sounded like he was sick too. So I wonder if they got a little bug making their way around the locker room.
Jeez, that's a hell of a theory right there.
Well, I asked the questions that
he's probably talking a lot, man. Probably lost his voice. He probably got the D'Amico.
Yeah, the D'Amico.
Texans open as a 7-point favorite against the Patriots. Touchdown favorite. We don't know if we're going to see Mixon. Nico Collins, that his status is very much in question. But the Texans still open as a 7-point favorite against New England.
Will that number change based on them if they start Drake May?
I don't know that Drake May instead of Jacoby Brissett really moves the line, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, you're talking about a 1-4 team. I would think that you would probably rather face Brissett just because you have some sort of familiarity with him. Although the history of Jacoby Brissett and the Texans hasn't always been great. But I don't look at this as a line that's going to move too much. It might go down to 6.5, perhaps, but the Patriots are a bad squad. Some people thought this was like a borderline tanking squad.
Man, they got field goal to death by the Miami Dolphins yesterday. The Dolphins had 3 field goals until late in the fourth quarter when their fullback scored a touchdown to go up 5. And that's a Dolphins team that's got no juice to it.
No, the Dolphins are a dead team walking. This is almost like lost season, lost quarterback type of squad.
Their quarterback's down. They lost Jalen Phillips again. Their O-line stinks. That's a bad Patriots team. Very bad. I'm glad they picked a coach based on him going on a retreat to Israel with the owner.
But these are also some. Well, they had a little bit more history before that. Let's be honest. Let's be fair to Gerard Mayo. He's got a very successful career coaching and in the business world. So you be careful about Gerard Mayo.
He sucks.
There you go. Okay. You heard it here first. Remember when he got a feature in the Chronicle a long time ago?
Boy, do I.
That was an Easterby plant, I think. But as far as like the Texans, who are the teams that you fear right now? Do you have fear for Baltimore? Do you have fear for Kansas City? Is Buffalo kind of pushed back? Where are you at when it comes to like just looking at the big picture, not necessarily the division at this point?
I fear the teams that possess the most resiliency combined with talent, and that's Kansas City and Baltimore. I mean, Kansas City can bounce back from it feels like anything. It feels like anything. And then Baltimore yesterday, it's Halloween, so they were like Michael Myers in a horror movie. You know, they kept coming, and eventually they cut down Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like they just kept coming. They would not be denied that game.
Okay.
And it was just like
they kept what?
They kept bringing it against the Bengals.
Okay.
And to take that to overtime and to play as tough as they did, and then Henry finishes it off like he does. They are a very scary team. I can't explain how they lost to the Raiders in week 2, but they got back on track against the Cowboys. They dominated the Bills, and then to show the resiliency to overcome some of the mistakes that they made, that is a really good football team. And those two games, Kansas City and Baltimore, within 4 days of each other, is going to be such a fun stretch and such a difficult stretch for this Texans team, and such a defining stretch.
I actually thought it was lined up perfectly. Like with when you play those guys, I actually thought it was lined up perfectly.
Well, it's hard because they're hard. They're good teams.
No, they're good teams. But I think sometimes when we evaluate the schedule, it's almost like there's a reaction sometimes where it's like, oh, you drew Kansas City out of a hat. Oh my God, you got to play the Chiefs. This sucks. They're under schedule no matter what. I would argue that getting your bye week in December, late in December, and then getting to host Miami off of the bye week, especially now, we don't know what the hell they're going to be, if they're even going to be trying to win. And then you get Kansas City, which there's never an ideal time to play the Chiefs. December, yeah, I don't know. It can be kind of a character builder. Who knows? And then Baltimore has to come to Houston on short rest on a Wednesday during Christmas. I actually think that lined up good. Like, ideally, would you want to play those teams 3 in a row? Maybe not. But I actually thought that December was lined up decently for the Texans, given the fact that you had to play those teams no matter what.
Well, especially because, you should have everything figured out by then. You should know who you are. They'll know who they are. I'd rather face them then than, I'd much rather face them then, whatever happens, than be on the end of what Buffalo dealt with against Baltimore last week when they got their head smashed in on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and I wonder what happens with Buffalo moving forward, because this is a very banged up team, and their next game is in New York against the Jets, and the Jets are in a bad place, man. The Jets are in a really bad place, but it's not the most fun place to play, and there's a little bit of familiarity that the Jets have with the Bills. I heard DJ bring it up the other day, DJ Bieneme, and he'll drop a stat on you. He knows how to maximize those ESPN stats and info resources. But Salah's actually had decent success, I guess, against Josh Allen. So it'll be interesting. Jets, I don't want to say they're fighting for their season this early, but they're not in like the best place. And the Bills are now going to have to go to the Jets on a Monday night, and they're only a 3.5-point favorite. They open as that. You can see that line at BetUS.
Boy, how different does that Jets game on Halloween feel compared to what it was when the season started?
Well, I mean, I think when you start stacking up wins and you win games that, quote, you shouldn't win, it I don't want to say it decreases the pressure, but I know D'Amico would never admit it, but I mean, if you're sitting here at, I don't know, if you're around 500 at that time, then you're kind of like, man, maybe this guy needs to battle through it. But if Nico's hamstring is acting up or something and you're going to the Jets, it's like, hey, man, maybe you want to take this one off. Figure that out.
I will say about Nico Collins for this week, and I believe we'll disagree on this. If he says he's healthy, play him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I don't want to see him like just completely.
If Wednesday he has any sort of like I'm not sure, then DNP rest of the week. See ya. Get ready for next week. But if he feels like, hey, I feel pretty good. Like if he's healthy, play him.
I guess, man, those hamstrings just always linger, man. Like they're lingerers. Shout out to Pineapple Express. They're just lingerers, man.
Yeah.
Getting ready for Green Bay. And then he's got the Colts. He hadn't had much success against the Colts or anything. Green Bay.
I would, if I was telling you, if I was a betting man, I would bet. I don't think this is at our friends at Bet US. I would bet against him playing on Sunday. I would bet against him playing. And that would and should be the heavy favorite.
Yeah, I would too. And then maybe that gets Tank going. Maybe in a weird way, you get Tank and Diggs going. And then when he comes back, hopefully against Green Bay, he's ready to go. Full speed. And then after that, you got the Colts. And he could dissect the Colts with one leg. He only needs one leg to beat the Colts at this point because Nico Collins owns the Indianapolis Colts. There's something in the water whenever he faces the Colts. Now, usually it's in Indy. In Indy is where he does the majority of his damage, but Nico Collins loves to face them Colts.
Him and Jim Irsay, Colts co-owners.
Yeah, no doubt.
What you think? Hutchinson gets some of the Nico snaps, or you think they go with Woods like when Tank was out?
I think it's a combination of the two. Combination of both of those guys.
Well, I tell you what, Hutchinson there in I think it was the second half. I think it was that first drive. What was it like 30 some odd yards on back-to-back plays?
Speaking of which, man, you just mentioned it. I feel disrespectful.
Yeah, 31 or no, excuse me here. 21 yards on back-to-back plays. Second and 23 and third and 11 on the field goal drive to start the second half. So Schultz gets the really awful taunting penalty, and then boom, Hutchinson, first down, and they end up with a field goal on that drive. But nice job there. What we got going on over here? What's going on?
Moment of silence for Steven Sims' career as a Texan being active. Amen.
Yeah, so I would tell you that when Heinisch is ready, that's his roster spot.
Yeah. Shout out to Steven Sims, man. We barely knew you. We always have Baltimore. Have Baltimore, my friend.
We'll always have Baltimore, just like we'll always have the Rex Burkhead Chargers game, like we'll always have.
That was a disgrace.
Yeah. Just like we'll always have trying
Steven
to think
Sims. We hardly knew you. Do you think if Tommy Townsend continues, like if we go through 5 more games of Tommy Townsend punting like this, do you move on?
No.
Malone's back. The guy who said the Texans suck. Where do I get a generic NFL hat? I don't know. This is old school, man. I feel like people started rocking them. It's like a Reebok. So this is so old. This is when Reebok was the NFL. So
I'm disgusted by you.
Why?
I'm disgusted by you.
All right. Well, elaborate, brother. That could mean a lot of things.
I found that hat for you on Harwin. Sent you a picture, and I was like, do you want this? And then you sent me the money for it, and I got it for you, and I sent it to you.
When was this?
This is a few years ago.
Okay, well, I don't remember that.
It's a few years ago. I found that hat. You can find this hat. I bet you the store over on Harwin that I went to still has it.
What was it, a thrift shop?
It was like a
Did they have other colors?
Maybe.
Don't say yes, dude.
It was
Don't say yes. If it's true, don't say yes.
I'll go by there. It's a place that sells questionable origin jerseys of all sports and hats.
Dude, if they have any more colors of the generic NFL, then
it's right around the corner from where my mom lives. I'll go check it out this week.
I need it.
Generic NFL hats for people.
I need it.
If all right, I'll make this promise to the people. If they've got one, either the red one that Landry has or a different color, he's got a different color.
Don't swag me. Don't swag me. Don't take my style.
I'll give one away on the show.
No, don't take my style.
I'll give one away on the show to somebody.
Don't swag me, man. Don't swag me.
I don't know what that means.
It's where you steal someone's swag. Swag.
Is a combination of swag and jack?
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me putting 2 and 2 together.
I'm telling y'all, Hutchinson is a sleeping dog.
I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog, I'm a dog.
If they use him similar to how they use Nico, they won't regret it. He's 6'3" with similar range. And Blue Boy, you're crazy.
They're very
I
different
like you,
players.
man, but you're crazy, man.
They're very different
crazy.
players.
Yeah, they're not the same. Nico is a big physical guy. Hutchinson, not as physical. I like Hutchinson though. I think he's become a solid contributor to the squad, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Fine.
Yeah, he's fine for a fourth, fifth wide receiver. He's fine.
This will be the last week before a little bit of action with Danico Autry. I don't know what's going to happen with Harris. I'm going to ask D'Amico about that today. But I do think that Autry, I think it's going to be more of a fast track once Autry's ready. I think Autry will be ready to go sooner rather than later. Does that mean that he's playing in Green Bay? Maybe. I think we see Kurt Heinisch. He's a little bit closer. Do they need Heinisch? I don't know. How much do they feel that they need that? But I do feel like there's going to be more of a fast track for Autry. No doubt.
How about a shout out Khalil Davis, who
only sack of the day for the team. Only sack of the day.
He came in
when he makes plays, they just look very violent.
He came in and just stoned the Bills drive and turned it into a field goal drive. Like he came in and just boom, immediately made plays.
Yeah, shout out to Khalil Davis. That was a good find for them. And he's still around. He's still doing his thing. So
I'm glad you said that, and we'll have to talk about it later in the week. But
are you gonna use this as an opportunity to bring up Derek Barnett? You always have to bring up Derek Barnett unsolicited. Just get it in. No, just get it in.
Players that you rely on, it's going to take me hours to do this, so maybe later in the week. I would be very interested to know how many teams are this reliant on their first 4 draft picks from this season. Lassiter plays every snap in this game. Kalen Bullock plays every snap in this game. Blake Fisher plays every snap for offense. And Cade Stover's your number 2 tight end. I don't know that there are many teams in the NFL that are using their first 4 picks this much.
I don't know that there are very many good teams that are using their picks this much.
That's probably a better way to categorize it.
Yeah, I don't know that there are too many teams that are using it like that are good that are doing that. And that's a nice blend, man. That's a nice blend of young talent with young talent that's a little bit more established.
Let's use the Bills as an example. Keon Coleman, 1 catch yesterday, touchdown. Good job by Keon Coleman, but outside of that, Cole Bishop, totally lost on the Nico Collins deep play. Rotational player backup before this. Dwayne Carter, defensive tackle, rotational player, backup player before this, and Ray Davis is their backup running back.
Yeah, so nope.
So not
that would be a note for them.
Not the Buffalo Bills. Maybe this exercise.
The Chiefs are using Worthy. I don't really have the rest of their draft in front of me. But
Worthy, they're not playing the tackle, the BYU tackle who got drafted after Fisher. And then their next pick was a 4th round pick, Jared Wiley, the tight end. I don't know if he's even been active. He stinks. He's
been active, but he hadn't done much. He went to Texas. He was actually Quentin Johnston's quarterback in high school. Quentin Johnston from the Chargers, he was quarterback. He went to Texas, and they ended up transferring to TCU. So shout out to Garrett. Sorry about that slander, man. I respect your game. He does not. That's Cody Stoots. That's not me. I respect your game, my friend.
Who's Minnesota? They're undefeated. Wonder what the Vikings are doing with their draft picks. Well, McCarthy, no. Never mind.
JJ McCarthy. No, they basically traded their whole draft for JJ McCarthy, and Sam Darnold is in the MVP discussion. So no, not much.
Dallas Turner, very, very okay, I guess.
Before we get out of here, I do got to shout out Samoa Joe Hewitt. Shout out to Neville Hewitt for the Samoa Joe running suplex. I asked him about that, but yeah, his name is now Samoa Joe Samoa No Hewitt. That's what I will call him. Appreciate everyone for coming through. This has been another edition of Reaction Monday. We always react, we talk it out, and we interact as well. Be sure to subscribe to both of our channels. And most importantly, the night stream 10:30. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon.